Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Chatbout Toronto. We're here. Happy Father's Day to all the daddies out there.
Yes,
And you're right. I'm your girl Tez.
and I'm your girl Misty.
And I am Mel Black Rose. And we have a special guest today for our Father's Day edition. We have Mr. Troy Crossfield, President and Chief Executive of Crossfield House Production. I'm just gonna let you do a bow.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna let you do your bow yourself. You know?
That is a whole. That's a whole vibe. That's a whole vibe.
Let people know who you are, what you about.
All right, good afternoon, good evening, happy Father's Day to all the men out there. Thank you for Chatbout Toronto for having me on. And yeah, I would like to say hello from Crossfield Productions. I am one of 5. The other 4 are powerful, beautiful Black women who are also my partners in time with Crossfield Productions. And you know, I'm this president over there, and of course I'm my VPs and my team. So I'm really surrounded by some powerful women, and I'm surrounded by some powerful women right now. So I'm really excited to be here today to talk about daddy stuff.
That's amazing. And Troy, tell us a little bit about what some of the productions that you've done.
Cool. So hopefully some of y'all have seen it. We started off with A Little White Lie. A theater production called Little White Lie, Little Black Lie. Oh my gosh! And now we've just we're into film now as well too. One of our films got into Toronto Film Festival called Roni, written by my team. And yeah, we do so much. I just hate like giving people the slashes, you know, because like people are like, wow, you guys do so much, but like we really do so much. So it's just my blessing to be able to create, you know. So
yeah. Right. That's amazing. We're happy to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Yes. Along with being all those things, you are a Black father. And that was probably one of the main reasons why we asked you on the show, because we just we just felt that obviously because we're females, we can't really represent the Black male perspective in regards to society. And we thought it was important to have this conversation with you today.
Oh,
yeah.
Man. Thank you, man.
And I see you mind you pick me a little bit.
Yeah. Let me tell you, being a father is a full-time job.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, indeed.
It's supposed to be a full-time job. Let me just make that straight. So what y'all want to ask me, man? I'm here.
Oh. So what we wanted to talk to you about, we wanted to get into like some of the negative stereotypes on Black fathers, but before we get there, let's start it off a little bit light. We don't want to get into the heavy stuff just yet. So let's talk about maybe a favorite memory you have of your father.
Wow, I thought you said you're gonna start off light.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You started in reverse. Okay. So I guess since we're doing this, and this is for Father's Day, I feel like I have the need to be, you know, vulnerable with you guys and stuff like that. And because this is also an empowering session for men and for women. So I would say that my father wasn't really involved in my life as a young man. Due to some, of course, personal family issues and stuff, he had to leave, and then later on my mom got remarried, and my stepfather has been here ever since, but him and I, we never really had a connection, you know, because I guess as a young man I was angry. I was you know, trying to figure out life by myself, and really I had 5 sisters, you know, so I didn't really have any brothers and stuff. I had some cousins living with me from time to time, but like I always felt myself like just figuring out things for myself. So, and one of them, when I was younger, I was like, man, I'm gonna be the best daddy ever, because I never really had that experience in my life, you know, because also too, what was expected of me, I was never shown, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, yeah, so just being vulnerable and just telling you guys about that experience for me as a child. My uncles, I had like some men around, but like and no one to really that I really like called father, you know. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, Troy. That is
thank you.
Thank you for getting that personal with us. So do you feel that that experience that you had is what shaped the way that you are, the way you father right now, like, and the father that you've become?
Yeah, absolutely. And I see it too with, even my sisters and stuff, like them having that missing void of that person in their life, um, help them to, make good and bad decisions when they're growing up. You know what I'm saying? And especially for a young Black woman, and I can say this because, living and having five sisters, my mom just being around me my whole life is like, they need that male figure in their life,
Yeah.
and it's something that would help empower them, help them to make better decisions, love choices, like, financial decisions, like so much, and me taking that into my putting that into my daughter and my son now, like my daughter, we speak every day, we communicate every day. I tell her that I love her every day because those are things that I never seen. You know what I'm saying? And I can't remember. And it's funny. Another vulnerable moment that I can't remember a lot of my childhood, and I think they say it's because like when you've gone through like traumatic experiences, like you don't have like memories on things, So I take those experiences of what I do remember, what I see my sisters go through, and really I try to pour that into my daughter and my son. Not just trying to overcompensate, but like a little bit of that because I'm like, man, like I want to make sure that you know who your daddy is. I want to make sure you know that I'm in your life and you know that I love you. And yes, I'm gonna annoy you like crazy, but like she's also a love. She's my daughter's like a loving person like me too. Like she loves the hug and she loves all that kind of stuff. My son's like running around. He's what boys do, But yeah, we'll talk about him in a second too. But yeah, so it's definitely helped me to become the person who I am now with them because, I found that void was a very missing void in my life. And it's always caused an emotional moment for me. Like I can watch that Will Smith scene, the popular one from
that one scene.
His father, and like I was like really start to tear. Like whenever I needed to go on stage and have an emotional moment, I would watch that scene and like, that scene would just draw me to my tears, So yeah.
Wow.
We said light. I'm sorry.
I know, right?
Whoa. I guess I think everybody with their fathers, they all have different experiences. I know for me, I had my father around. I had uncles around. I had cousins around. But I think as much as, the Ghanaian community came to Toronto, they still instilled the same kind of upbringings that they had when they were in Ghana. So it was kind of like you could go to your uncle, or if I have a problem with my mom, I could go to my uncle, and then my uncle will come and speak on my behalf. We kind of still had that grounding. So even if your father wasn't present, there was still somebody there that you would be able to speak to, right? And I feel like that is something that our community does need in regards to just our families and just people around just starting to step up and trying to, help out those who actually need somebody to speak to, right? But
it used to be that it took a village, right? That was a saying that back in the days, right? And it's somewhere along the way we kind of lost that, and everybody kind of got incubated. But it really does. When there's one void, there's others to step in, and that's what godparents are for, and uncles and aunties and best friends of parents, and
like you carry on at a party, you go say, "Hey, Mr. Mansa, I saw that woman. I saw it. She wasn't acting appropriately. You better talk to her. You better." We had there was that thing that you always knew that somebody was watching you, right?
Someone's watching. Yeah.
Exactly.
And the weird thing is like, in our some of our culture, like, Jamaicans or whatever, my mom would spend the time on her phone telling the aunties and friends everything that I did. But like we didn't really have that accountability from a village. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, it was like, some people, it was more so like gossip and pasa and like, of course mom would just beat you when she's on the phone with her friend. but like it would be more that, but like no accountability structure. You know what I mean? That is totally what's missing. I was just actually saying this the other day. I was like, I miss the concept of actually having neighbors, because like we're so much in our phones and all this kind of stuff. Like before, back in the day, you would have neighbors where like after school your kids just go to their house and stuff like that, but nobody's trusting nobody these days. So it's such a different dynamic now, you know, like we're literally like living in this pandemic era, but like we've been living like this for a while now, you know. Like it's so sad.
To touch on the whole topic of the village raising child, one of the things that I didn't enjoy about getting other people involved in my upbringing was it sometimes used to be used as a way of shaming the child rather than teaching them. And I understand as parents, you're not perfect, and you know, you learn as you go along, especially if it's your first child. But I feel like the intention should always be to coach and to teach and not to shame or, you know, kind of project your own embarrassment of, you know, where you failed onto that child. So I think that's why parents have started to, you know, this is my child. I don't want you telling them how to be or disciplining them. I will do that on my own. So I think kind of that's where everything kind of just changed, because there's like, I don't trust, just like you said, we don't trust anybody. So I don't trust you to discipline my child.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's a good and bad thing, because there's some parents out there that I want to beat. You know what I mean? I was like, what?
Yeah.
I know that's the other thing too, that we have like so many young parents and just inexperienced people that are just not necessarily, they may not have been exposed to, you know, proper rearing themselves. And so you have inexperienced leading the, you know, it's like the blind leading the blind. So you have inexperienced parents and young people raising kids and not necessarily passing on the things that should be passed on, because they may not even have learned it yet. You know, like a little bit of a broken system sometimes, you know, but
I feel like we all have a lot to learn now. Like, you know, I feel like we're in this state of evolution right now. And I also think that needs to be in our community, in the Black community, and with us as like family, as friends, like different cultures, because we're in a melting pot and we're still holding on to our back home cultures. Like we need to like figure out what is this, like our kids now are going to be Canadian kids. Like they're, you know what I mean? Like they're not gonna be screaming out, "Bop, bop, bop," like yo, I'm Jamaican. Like no, like they're Canadian. Their kids are gonna be Canadian. Their children are gonna be Canadian. So like we need to figure out a way now how to do all these things right and give them the right tools and the right conversations and for them to go to the next level. You know, together.
I feel like we need a mix of the tradition and then blend it with something new so that the kids can actually relate to it, right? Because you are right. As much as I can say, oh, I'm pro Ghanaian, blah, blah, blah. As soon as I go to Ghana, I'm a Black white woman to them. So it's like, no, for real.
That's true though.
They'll hear like, hey, your tonation. If I close my eyes, I envision a white woman. I'm like, what? Seriously. I would have, like, my uncle's a pastor, and he will get me to stand in front of the congregation just to speak. They just want to hear my voice. So it's kind of like, we do have to, and my parents didn't really prepare me for that, right? Because I'm assuming, like, because my dad would always be like, yo, Ghanaian, that's it. Canada is just for the luxury of certain things, but we're all moving back to Ghana. Like, that was always his idea. But when I actually got there, I was like,
I'm different. I'm not
really.
Am I really?
Yeah. Maybe 6 months.
You know how much times I try to go to Dunsborough Falls in Jamaica with no respect, like, yo, I'll go on Bridge Chain, like, sorry, Canadian, tourist rate, buddy.
So Troy, when you hear, I noticed that some people, like, when you listen to the news and whatever, they always have this perception of Black men, right? So how do you feel when people say, if Black men just showed up in the homes of their children, acted like men instead of boys, Black families and communities, like how do you feel when you actually hear that, especially knowing that you are an actual father that's like kind of invisible in the media and in society, period?
Oh man, it actually, like, it really it's hurtful, you know what I'm saying? And like a lot of the statistics are wrong, because if you actually like if people were to actually look at the statistics, Black fathers are probably like the number one culture involved in their children's life.
Yeah.
They're just taking a lot of singular experiences and like putting it on the whole. You know what I mean? So which has become a stereotype. But for me, unfortunately, I do have the unfortunate thing of knowing guys like that. You know, who don't take care of their children, who don't even call, who don't even spend time or send $1. You know, so it's just like, man, like you guys are making us look horrible. You know, and for the guys who are like really spending the time, grinding, doing everything they got to for their children, like we are getting the short end of the stick. You know what I'm saying? And also too, I guess I hope that we don't have to have a big conversation about this too. There are women out there who do not let their father get close to the
very true
get close to their children because of anger or because of whatever and all that kind of stuff. And like that's what I'm saying. Like this whole culture has to shift. So you know, I am upset that I get like categorized like that when I damn well know say I see my picnic them every single day, and like God forbid, but like if you know if something happened with my wife and I would continue that relationship with my children. That's so important to me. You know,
that's right.
I feel like more, and you know, Mel, you and I've talked about this. Like more men do need to fight for their children more. You know what I'm saying? Whether it be court or co-custody, whatever, not just because of the money thing, but because like it's not good enough for a man to see their child every other weekend.
That's right. That's twice a month.
That's twice a month, and like it's not good. You know what I mean? So I feel like also too, like the court system needs to change. You know, and there needs to be more access. There needs to be more things in place so that Black fathers can be Black fathers. Like, you know, sorry, I'm going off a rant right now.
No, we want to hear it. We want to hear it.
Even when you actually go, I went in and listened to some of the actual cases for child support. And even when you get into the court, it's nothing but confusion. Like literally, it's like so many people, there's no one really directing you on where you need to go. And then you hear this person screaming, and then you sit there and it's not like 9 o'clock, that's your time. You like just say, they tell you 9 o'clock, you could be there till 1 o'clock till the judge actually sees you, right? Wow. And then you're sitting there and you're listening to how some of the judges are speaking to these men. And I feel like subconsciously, I think it does affect certain men.
Internalize it.
Right, because then they're saying, I don't want to go back. Like you know what I'm saying? I don't want to go back. Like
that's true.
So not only through actions do we perpetuate the stereotypes against Black men, but even through our words. Stuff like, oh, him workless, or him never did ever do nothing good, or, you know, all these things we say, like not only, he's just like his father, and they always say things that's so hurtful and like to cut deep. And I'm not a Black father, but I feel like a relationship with a Black man is different from a Black father. So he could play two roles in your life. And I feel like if you're angry with the man because of what he did to you, you can't be angry at the dad because he, like, if you don't give him a chance to be a dad, but then, you know what I mean? Like, you have to separate his roles and treat him accordingly. That's what I feel.
Yeah, there's a lot of blurred lines there, but a lot of people don't do that, you know, and when you're focusing on your child and doing everything for the betterment of your child, then that's most of the time that's what guides you to get to that place. But most people are very, you know, you're overtaken by emotions and stuff, so it's like hard, right?
But do you guys believe that subliminally we are kind of the way, because there's so many reports, what you see on the news about Black men being so-called, you know, absentee or absent, not available, waste youths. Do you feel that subconsciously that we are internalizing certain things that were used to oppress us as people? Because there are so much documents, so many resources, so many types of reports that were created. Especially there was one in 1965 called the Negro Report. And pretty much what it was trying to do was it was trying to tell the government that was in power that if you want to give Black people or marginalized people a little more rights, you have to understand their culture, right? You have to understand where they're coming from. But the person who actually wrote that was a white man who was a sociologist, and he went all the way left. And the only thing he focused on was the problem with the Black community is the fact that there's no fathers. And like completely ignored the fact that just because
Troy's rolling his eyes.
Just because they're not married, he didn't even look into the relationships that the kids had with their fathers, even though the father wasn't present in the home. And I find that with that report came more reports and then more reports. And I feel like now in our minds, we believe that that's true, but realistically, the stats show completely different as to what Troy said earlier. So do you think that maybe sometimes we're just kind of
sheeple?
I don't know.
Sheeple, just going along with what's in the media?
Yeah.
1,000%. Black men ain't this, Black men ain't that, blah, 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 blah. And like, I loved when you were saying earlier to us about, and this is gonna be a bad example, so please don't get it twisted. I'm not for that, but like separating the person from separating like the Black man from the Black father.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, for example, you know, and yes, R. Kelly's done R. Kelly, whatever. But like, one day people are gonna get to a point where we're gonna have to separate the man from the music. You know what I'm saying? Because like, but you know, okay, no, but I'm just
use
saying,
somebody
like,
else. Use somebody else. That's
I know. Okay, let me use somebody else. I'm what? I knew I was gonna get in trouble for this, especially being on Black Father's Day. But people are still bumping R. Kelly like it's okay, and it's not okay. It's not okay.
Bumping R. Kelly.
It's not okay. But what I'm saying is like we need to separate. We have to separate the two. You know what I'm saying? Like and you see, okay, so this is a perfect example because like there are Black men out there who are fathers, but the woman is angry, but she don't want to separate that.
No.
She's exactly the same. Nope, I don't care. He ain't ish, whatever, and he's not gonna be ish to my children. Bun that, let it go, bun it up. Just like I was giving that bad example. Just like R. Kelly, just like that bad example. Right? But this is how I'm saying, like, we have to figure out a way how to separate that, because you know what? The nuclear family is very important, the Black family is very important, but not everybody's not all Black fathers are part of families. You know what I'm saying? Not everybody's married. So how can we, you know what I'm saying? Like, how can we look at that differently? You know what I'm saying? You're not a family, you're not married. How can two people just come together and just decide, you know what, this is what we're going to do? And a lot of people have had that success, but then there's still, all you'd see in the media is the people that don't get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like my sister, my oldest sister, she has a good relationship with her ex, you know what I mean? My ex brother-in-law. And like they're able to raise the kids together, you know what I mean? Show up to the graduation together, even hang out, be at barbecues together, like all that kind of stuff. It doesn't affect them anymore. Like they've moved on, but I feel like there's a lot of that in the Black culture where people are still angry, people still are holding on to hatred, people are still angry and want to burn something down. So that's what I'm saying. Like we have to get to a point where we can separate those two. Lord Jesus, can you please remove my R. Kelly comment from YouTube? Because that's all this good stuff you're gonna see, but all you're gonna see is like R. Kelly.
You see how his brain is like, his brain is like moving while he's talking. You know, you're still like, R. Kelly, let it go.
You know,
listen to R. Kelly.
So somebody stepping in the name of love still. Somebody is stepping in the name of love still. Somebody right now is stepping in the name of love.
That's the one time that I don't celebrate at all. I think if you are doing like that kind of stuff, you are all whole and one. You are canceled. You're done.
Okay, but for instance, a lot of people would say they don't want to listen to Michael Jackson anymore based on the things that he's done, whatever the case may be. Allegations. So it's the same thing. I told my coworkers, unfortunately, nothing was ever proven. Exactly. And I'm going to listen to Michael Jackson. It is what it is.
People don't want to watch the Cosby Show no more. People don't want to watch the Cosby Show no more.
Triggering.
But that's the problem I feel with Black people with our lives. We personalize everything. And we in life, we have to learn to separate our emotions from being logical. Yes,
so
we're allowed to.
One thing. I'll just say one thing. So when it comes on to the abuse of children, I cannot and I will not separate
there's no
the people.
separating.
There's no separating. It doesn't matter, Mel.
But just
Mel,
because there was no proof does not mean it didn't happen. So let's not do that.
Let's just not talk about those people.
That's the card that people play to justify themselves in doing what they want to do.
Let's just not.
They don't want to not do something. And that's okay.
True.
If you don't want to do it, that's fine. But don't say that it wasn't proven, because there's a lot of people who are hurt that shit hasn't been proven, right?
But there's people who know that and will say that to someone famous, but knows their uncle, their brethren, their brothers who are misogynistic, who are rapists, who are sexual, and nobody says anything. I just
want to say for everyone,
we need to focus on us. Those celebrities is not part of our community, and the things that we need to speak about, we don't. Because I know so many people who've been sexually assaulted by their family members, and nobody has said anything.
Nobody has said anything.
The same family members, when they see R. Kelly or Michael Jackson, they'll make a comment. So we have to stop being hypocritical with what we choose to be triggered by. Absolutely. If we're going to be that way, all the way through.
I am triggered all the way through. It doesn't matter if it's my uncle or my brother. It doesn't matter. I am triggered.
Uncle, a cousin, a celebrity, they're the same for me. If you're fucking kids or you're fucking with kids, it's the same.
This is about love.
It's a whole other topic. We're not going to talk about that.
Okay. So, no. You know what? Let's stay on topic. But like, this is healthy though, because this is exactly what I'm saying. Is that this is the energy that people give Black fathers.
True.
This is the same energy. I don't care. He ain't ish. Blah 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 blah. And cancel him. Done him. That's the same. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. It's the same energy.
The problem.
And that is the problem.
And but one thing I want to say is that we're confusing the two things, because what we're talking about is not demonizing Black fathers. We're talking about somebody who's committing criminal acts against children. That's a whole other thing. For me anyway, I can only speak for myself. The reason why I am firm in my stance is because of how I feel about that, right? It's not because of them being Black men or anything like that. It's because of how I feel about child abuse. So I am unwavering in my views about that. But when it comes to Black fathers and stuff, I completely agree, because I was raised by a Black father. My single Black father raised me. So I agree with you, and I believe that you should be able to separate if you are angry with the person because he cheated on you and he did whatever and he run up your credit and whatever. That's different. Right? That's different to him.
Wait, what?
No, I'm saying I said if you run up your credit and
if you run up your credit.
That's different than him being a good father, right? That's different to how his babies respond to him. And a lot of times too, I'll say one thing further, a lot of mothers, because they're not getting the financial assistance that they feel they require from the father, they use that as a tool, but they also don't like when the father gets praised as being such a good father when he's not financially assisting. And I think that has a big part to play as well. They feel like they're bearing all of the brunt of all the responsibility, and then daddy gets to sweep in and be like the big,
daddy,
daddy, daddy should be here. And I think that's where a lot of single mothers' anger comes from, is that they also want to know that you recognize that I'm doing a lot of the shit that daddy's supposed to be doing, right? Like that's how they feel, So, but I do know that, but a lot of that is what contributes to, the degradation of the family and breakdown and the fighting and all that kind of stuff. So yes, we absolutely have to find a way to be mature enough and to put the kids first and co-parent, even if it may not happen initially, because they are hot, but eventually work to getting there. You know what I mean?
But that's the importance of the village that we discussed. Right. Because as a woman, if I'm saying, yo, my man ain't shit, he don't, and then you have your friends and your mom or whoever agreeing with you, encouraging it, and not really, saying, okay, it's important to look for the future to see psychologically what is going to happen to your children without that father present. Don't get me wrong. I'm not talking about the toxic ones. There are numerous of fathers who are freaking amazing. And we don't, I don't think the family supports them as much as they should. My personal opinion. Like, I know some guys who've been paying cash, who've been taking care of the kids. They take them on vacation. They do all this thing. One day he gets a new girlfriend or something new, then it's bonfire upon him. And then the whole family is like bonfire upon him too. So it's just like, they're shit out of luck because Black men don't really have anybody supporting them when it comes to fatherhood, period. And I don't think it's...
And even for me, like, you know, when it comes back to the village again, like, I've been in scenarios, and, you know, I'll take my accountability on this one. I've been in scenarios where, like, you know, good friends of mine, the fathers aren't doing anything. And I would see the father in the road, and I would just, like, walk past them like it's nothing. When I should really stop them and have a conversation with them, like, look, bro, like, you're not, I mean, you know, I'm not trying to fight you in the road right now. Like, I'm not trying to go to jail, but I'm trying to tell you that you have a child out there that, like, really just needs to see you.
Yeah.
You know? And you know, because, like, you know, having a lot of, like, female relationships and friends and stuff like that, be like, you know, oh, Troy, should I take him for child support? And I'm like, yo, I don't like to put that on anybody because you know what I'm saying? But I'm just like, yo, like, I wish I knew homeboy so I could talk to homeboy, because, like, what you're asking for, usually what people are asking for is just like, yo, I don't need the money. I just want him to be responsible.
Time.
Child.
Just the time.
That's right.
The time.
A lot of mothers are saying that. A lot of mothers are, you know, they understand that he may not always have the financial means to assist, but they would love that, you know, they came by or they took the kids out or spent weekends with them or helped them with homework in the afternoon or what, you know, like, just, you know, it's like a lot of mothers have open doors, right? So, and a lot of them don't. I mean, we all know that there's all different sides, but so we have some comments in our.
Oh Lord, I don't even want to know the comments. Just before I even read the comments, I just want to say, like, obviously it's F.R. Kelly. Obviously, all day. It was a very bad example of using him to separate something from something. You cannot put him in that conversation. But I obviously, and, like,
you know what you meant though.
Like I was saying, just being on a vulnerable state before as well too. Like, my family went through that. So it's not like something that I haven't been through. Like, my family's gone through that, and my cousins have gone through that, and like, you know, it's that's exactly what I'm saying. It is, you know, but can I separate specific family members from their past to what I have to, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, without going into too much, I had to see some family members the other day. I can't leave my children there, but, you know, I have to see them.
Right.
So it's just,
that's crazy.
Yeah.
They weren't eating you alive in the comments, by the way.
Yeah, they were.
I just want to be vulnerable with y'all. You know what I'm saying?
I really appreciate it.
And we appreciate it.
Most important.
We're all about real talk. It's real conversations at Chatbout, right? We're not pretentious. We're not, you know, we say it like it is. So we appreciate that, you know?
And you know what? That's a big, like, that could be a whole another chat, boy. You guys can bring me back in on that one as well, too. Like, that one can be called, can we cancel the man? Can we cancel the music? Telling y'all will blow up on that one alone.
Oh man, there's like a whole list of celebrities we could talk about. We could, so does he get a pass? Like, there's so many. Yeah.
Little Boosie. Anyway,
but shout out to the people who are watching. Shout out to Richard, Cam, Junior Dimas. Thank you for joining. Derval, I think that's Kenrick. Hey Kenrick, and Cam as usual. Cam is always here,
commenting and just watching. Thank you guys.
Yes. So
they're basically commenting about the when we're talking about R. Kelly. They're like, yeah, he's canceled.
He's canceled too.
And Richard says that it's time has changed. Not too many men and women get married first, and then have children after.
True. True.
And then you made a comment about
you're right.
Past life. Yeah.
And statistics doesn't even discuss that in regards to like absent Black fathers. They talk about they're only looking at it in the perspective of them being in the actual home. But CDC, I know it's not Canadian, but CDC did one. And basically they were saying that, yes, Black people it's not common to be married, but like Troy was saying earlier, statistically, Black men are in their children's lives. They're there, you know, actively. The child has their first bike ride. They're bathing to picnic them. They're there.
Yeah,
but it's just because they're physically not in the home. They're kind of like pushed to the side.
They're not. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, which is. But then that's another topic we can talk to for Black men. Do you think, what is it that, do you feel, I don't personally feel like marriage will make a man a better father, but what do you guys think? Like, how would that influence your children?
I think, okay, so you're absolutely right. Marriage doesn't make you a better father. Because it's, and I'll put it in, me and my bad bad comparison. But like if you were never taught how to be, and not even taught, like if you don't have the values of a father, if you were never shown those things, if you don't even like do the research and all those kind of things, like nothing not gonna save you. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's marriage, it's living in a 1-bedroom condo with your spouse, and it's just you and the child and the spouse. Like fatherhood is work. You know what I'm saying? Marriage is also work, right? But those also are two separate things. You know what I'm saying? Like your marriage is separate, and your fatherhood is separate.
Work. Yeah.
It's individual work, and then it's work together as a nucleus, right? So you have like 3 sets of jobs. You know what I'm saying? And like and the gentleman was right, because like a lot of people are now having children, you know, out of wedlock and stuff like that. But let's not forget, back in the day, like man used to just be arranged marriages, and those marriages were just like toxic and ray and staying together for like forever, for like
right. But, I was just about to say, there's so many families that have husbands in the home, but they were absent. The father is in the home, but they might as well not be, because they're still they're so removed from the family, right?
Yeah. So many families, you know. So yeah. So for me, I really feel that like individually, like we need to spend time with our children, getting to know them on a one-on-one basis, because you know there used to be that toxic thing of I just bring home the bacon, like bruh, like, and that is a whole nother topic for you guys as well too, because like the bring home the bacon is now like everybody's bringing home the bacon now.
Everybody's bringing home, we all got our own bacon. So what we doing?
Got their own bacon. Everybody got their own chicken and fried fish that they're bringing home. But like, it's a very toxic mentality. You know what I'm saying? Because like, I bring home a salary. My wife brings home a salary. Okay, so who's doing what? There's like, it's so different now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like we need to do some relearning and re-education. Like there needs to be like a man and woman thing where we all come together and like, okay, cool. Like we need to fix this crap, because
new rules.
You know, new rules apply, and like we need to figure out a new way, a new normal. You know, maybe it should be done this year too. But yeah. You know,
I was listening to you and you were answering one of our questions without even realizing it. So we're talking about some of the ways in which you can, you know, alleviate some of the stereotypes on Black men. So you talked about taking accountability as a Black man, taking, you know, holding your Black brother accountable when he's not fulfilling his roles as a father. I heard you talked about researching. You know, people don't think you need to research how to be a dad. You talked about having the values of a father. Like, what would you say are some of those values that you think would be a benefit to a child for a man to have?
Man. Triple loaded question. I research things like even just the small things of like, you know, when my kid is like coughing a certain way, or he's peeing his bed at certain times at night. Like, health is very important for a man to research as well too, instead of me just saying, you know what, Quinn, check the baby, something wrong with him. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's very like that that kind of stuff is important because like I want to know for myself like what could be wrong with my child. And like even that's just one thing, but even values like financial literacy, like see, I want my children to be better than me, like 1000%. Like I'm gonna leave them some ish, but I want them. Like when I was in high school, I used to see the white kids, John and Greg, pulling up in cars. I'm like, car? Where you getting that from? Oh, my dad gave it to me. Like, what? Like, mans was walking, bus, hit, walk, run, whatever.
Foot soldier from time.
Until college. Okay, I because my mom was like, this whole foreign thing, like, obviously I got my license when it was early, but like I wanna like put deposits into them. So even when I get together with some men, I'm like, yo, put together a RESP for your children, savings account for their education, but also put away a little stash for them, just some side money for them, so that so they can have like a few grand when they get of age to go spend and all this kind of stuff. Like, I want to give my kids like a head start, but that's the money value of things. Like another value is just like the spiritual and also the inspirational aspect of it. So every morning I get my daughter, we drive to school. When we were driving to school, we'd say, I am beautiful, I am strong, I can do all things I put my mind to, I can do all things through Jesus. I'm gonna have a great day today. My family's gonna have a great day today. God loves me, my family loves me. Those are things that she won't forget because I'm instilling that in her every single day. I didn't have that, and I didn't know where I got that from, but I'm like, yo, I need to really create new things for my children that they'll always remember. Secret handshakes and all the kind of stuff. It's weird, but like, I have all those things.
But you know where you got it from, Troy. You got it from seeing your sisters. You got that from seeing your sisters and seeing the things that were missing that could possibly be something that could be instilled into your daughter, especially in this present moment. The importance of a Black man instilling that type of confidence into their child is probably one of the most important things ever. So as much as you don't realize that you're doing certain things, you're doing it because of your experience. And that's even better because you're not even doing it intentionally.
Yeah.
Like God is just like you just came into you and said, yo, this is how I'm not gonna do with my picnic.
And then I mean some days I struggle still, I'm like, man, am I spoiling her? Because like I want these values for her. I'm getting her I pretty much I've spoiled my daughter. Like I've pretty much gotten her everything that she's ever wanted. She's seen. But it was my firstborn, I cut back on the toys now because of my son. I'm like, yo, I'm not buying that much toys because like I have like 3 bins of naked Barbies and like she's like on to the next thing, But like I just want I feel like our children like God, like He wants the best for us, the best lives for us, So like, and I expect her to want that from any man that she may meet later on in her life. Like, yo, my daddy treated me like this, so I'm not gonna take any less. I want her to know.
Yeah.
That's why I have a talk comment.
I hope it's a Shamar she brings home.
I tell dudes, I'll be like, I will call 911 on you if you even touch me. My father has never even laid a hand on me my whole entire life. I'm not gonna let no random dude put his hand on me because you need to go to counseling. 911.
3 numbers. We're not even going to counseling. We're not even getting that far.
We need to.
We have 2 comments. So Stacy says, only being a good man who chooses to be a good father makes a difference. Many children from marriages that went too long have more scars than children in their single parents children in a single parent home. Right. So that's like toxic parents that are married, but not actual parents. And then Duval said, it exposes you as a father and shows you what you're lacking. Also, your children will see how you treat your partner and believe that's how you should be treated as a woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is very important as well too.
Yeah.
Like,
so Troy, what's your favorite part of being a dad? What's the best part of it for you?
Man, I think the best part is in the mornings, when I just hear, Daddy? Like, it's always the mornings because, like, you sleep and, okay, I haven't seen them in like 8 hours, and then, like, you know what I mean, or whatever time I go to bed, and then, like, yeah, just that time in the morning, like, they come and they hug me and they just hold me and stuff like that. That's my favorite part. And then this is weird because it's a sad part, but, like, when I have to travel for business or whatever, and, like, they're crying because that just lets me know how much they miss me.
How much they love you.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
How much they love me. So, so yeah, those are my best parts of being a father.
So cute. That's nice. Honestly, parenthood is the best thing. I have to say that being a parent has been one of the best jobs I've had. And it's just, watching your little person grow and being able to, shower them with information and love, and watching them develop into, this viable person that can do things, and, like, it's so beautiful. I love being a parent.
Natasha, for you, like, saying how you were raised by your father, he was a single father who raised you. How do you feel that influenced you as a Black woman and how you see Black men and Black fathers?
Wow. Well, I definitely have a different view of fathers because I was raised by a single father. Right. And so, I'm pro dad. Like, I'm I've always advocated for fathers because I've never experienced not having my father around. Right. So I also feel like having my father gave me a great sense of confidence and instilled in me the abilities or the knowledge that I'm capable and I'm able to do things. And I feel like him being in my corner really, like, kind of fortified that in me, you know? I know a lot of girls who have daddy issues, and that always seems to be the trend, is that they didn't have a father or a father figure that really showered them with love and adoration, and I feel like it really plays a big part in both male and female. Like, you need both parents. We need, everyone plays a role for a reason. Yeah. But that, I think, is one of the main things. Like, it gives me confidence, and also in dealing with other men, I find people always say this to me, that I'm not afraid of men. Like, I think there's a level of fear that I feel like some women, I don't know if it's
uncomfortable.
Yeah, maybe it's just a discomfort or something, that women are a little bit kind of tentative around men, but I don't feel that because I have my dad, my brothers, my cousins, my uncles. Like, I have a lot of male, heavy male presence in my life, and so because I guess I have an understanding of men, I don't get that fearful feeling, or that, I'm actually sometimes a little bit too aggressive because I feel like I'm a boy too, like, so.
That masculine energy, girl. It's okay.
Yeah, it just comes out.
I got it. And that's crazy. Right. I wasn't raised from a single parent household, but I came with both my parents, but majority of my friends didn't come from a single parent household. So my experience for Black men is completely different. Don't get me wrong. So, like, just say like 20%, they did not have a father, but their mothers were financially stable. So there was a different experience for them too, because just because the father's not in the home, they were still able to get what they needed to get. But I've always known that I can rely on a Black father. Like, if we were going on our debauchery trips, who do you think is picking us up from the airport? My friend's father. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. In high school, Mr. Boahen, he used to pick me up every day to go to school in the morning. And he knew I was late every day. You know what he would do? He would drive around one more time to make sure that he catches me walking so that he can make sure that I'm getting to school, and he drove me to school that I get on time. Then my other friend, Stacy, her father was like, their house was like that safe haven house. So if we were coming home late, if we were doing some nonsense, he would drive us to all our dance competitions, our step competitions, and he would call every single person's parent, because most of us were African, to tell them that the reason why they're late is because whatever, so don't beat them, don't do whatever. Like, so I've always had it wasn't even a financial thing. It was more of that, the what is it?
The physical sense of them being there, they're there.
And that's why it's harder for me now, because when I don't meet men who are kind of like a protector, because that's how I view Black men, as protectors. So if I don't see that, I can't fuck with you.
Period.
There's no,
you need to be a lion.
There's no,
I come from a pride.
Yeah, and my dad will tell you, don't bring no waste here. Like, I've never been forced to be married. Like, my mom, yes, but my dad, like, it was always, get your money, get your education, so no motherfucker can tell you what the fuck, what, you know what I'm saying? Like, educate yourself. And that was one thing about my dad. There was times where I wasn't the feminine woman who was always like, oh, let me find this pastry thing. I'd close my door and read my book. Do you know he would tell my mom, leave her alone.
Yeah.
This is going to develop her to the person that she's going to be moving on in the future. And talking to him now in the 70 years that he is now, he would say the exact fucking same thing. So it's like, it's sad when I don't see women having that type of experience with Black men, because they're fucking amazing to me.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I appreciate that.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Troy.
Oh no, I was just saying, like, I appreciate what you were just saying, Mel, because like some days, like, I just sit and think, I'm like, why is it that families just program their daughters to get married and tell their sons to go and be the bosses of the world?
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, it's so weird to me. It's just like, I want my daughter to be the boss of the world. I want my business partners to be the bosses of the world. Like, and then get married when, you know, they have their stuff together. And this one I'm going to tell my son as well too. Like, I think your ending should be about legacy. And if, you know, if legacy is marriage and children and stuff like that, yeah, let that be. But I just feel like there was such an emphasis on women get married.
Getting married.
Run the world.
Down. Yes.
You know, like it was just so weird to me.
Yeah.
And then I get in trouble too sometimes when they say, "Oh, you just want you don't want me to find no man." I'm like, no, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. I think like single women and like people in relationships have like so much in common. But like, you know, for me, it's just like, yo, like I think everybody just really needs to figure out what they want in life.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Just being fair. You know what I mean? But I just feel like there's such an emphasis on women to get married at such a young age, like 16, 17. You know, one day you're going to find a man, he's going to marry you. Meanwhile, you're telling your sons, you know, you're going to run that company one day, right?
Yeah.
You know? So, I don't know.
That's what were you going to say?
No, I was saying that I can't believe that we've been talking for almost an hour already, I think. Yeah. Which is great.
A little bit late. But Troy, I want to ask you one more thing. Not one more, but one thing with regards to what's happening right now in the world, the climate of the world. You know, are you or have you had any different conversations with your children about what's going on and what they're maybe seeing on television or hearing about?
Yeah.
That's another thing as well too that I value with my children. Like, especially my daughter, she's growing up, so I have to be transparent with her. I have to tell her about racism in the world. I have to let her know, like, you know, there are Black men being killed because of their skin color. And then I also have to let her know that, like, you know, not all white people are racist and not all cops are bad. And there's also bad people that look like us. So I tell her about everything, you know?
Yeah.
And that's one thing I can rate on my mom for showing me from young, was just being transparent and honest, you know, and just me not trust them people, you know, like you know, people out there will kill you, you know, you're a Black man, you have to watch yourself, but like I also want my daughter to know that as well too, because you know we are hearing the message loud and clear, and it's something that I definitely want to encourage my brothers out there, like, you know, and going back to what you were saying, Miles, that we need to protect our women. Our women's voices need to be heard just as loud as ours. You know? Arrest the cops, Breonna Taylor, like, we need to find, like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, this is not just a Black man struggle. This is all of our struggle.
Yeah.
You know? So, yeah.
Yeah, we're a community. We're together. We're united. You know what I mean? We have to join forces, and we have to be there for each other. I mean, like, I feel like we're, you know, there's always the fragmented parts of our society that fight each other. But I think as a whole, I think we all know what we need to do but I think we're all generally trying to do that. You know, it's just to pull it together a little tighter and be more, I guess, more intentional with actions and the things we do, more intentional so that we get the results that we want. You know?
Yep. Right. There, when I was online, there was this thing where there was 4 things that we should stop telling everybody about Black fathers. The first one was Black fathers aren't involved in their children's lives. The second one was the increasing number of single parent homes is not exclusive to Black women only. So people need to understand that there's a lot of single mothers in different races that we are completely ignoring and not having that conversation.
And girls don't we know it.
Yes. And we know. But and the third one was men who didn't have fathers won't make good fathers. That's a fucking lie. Yeah. And the fourth one is Black fathers are an anomaly. Those are the things that we have to kind of.
We need to dead that conversation, dead it. Yes. And not keep that like we can't speak that over our community anymore. We need to speak what we want and what we see and what we experience and in a positive way so that we could keep getting that.
Yeah. 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 Because I feel like men who come from a single home sometimes get pushed to like they get judged a little bit. Because I've heard, because I guess again, because I'm coming from a group of friends who have both parents. And I've heard, you know, some of my friends have said like, he doesn't have a father. So no, definitely he's not a point. And I would say, so because he doesn't have a father, that doesn't mean, what does that mean exactly? Like what, because you could be living at home with a father who's toxic.
Yeah, exactly.
And, you know, like how, like,
showing you how to be a waste youth father, like, you know?
There are some men who have fathers out there who would be better off without one. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like they've had that toxic experience and it's just been crazy, you know? Damaging more than anything.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And one of the things too, I also want to like say to women, like, I think with our community, we've had this conversation last week about being prideful and not really wanting to tell people your business or asking people for help. But if you know you're a single mother and you know there's an uncle who could possibly be a good, you know, a good influence on a role model for your child, I feel like those are the conversations too now we have to start having with family members. I'm not saying like you have to pay their child support or whatever, just guidance, like spiritual, physical, whatever they need to know, right? Like just to help. We need to stop being prideful and start asking for help.
And you know, a few years ago, and just while this is on your YouTube, and maybe you could reach out to some men about it. A few years ago, I think I sat in some barbershop talk or whatever my brother Warren Clark was doing. And one of the managers for Big Brothers were there. And he was saying that Black boys are like the lowest to get a big brother that is Black. Because there's not a lot of Black men that sign up for that. So you know, there's not a Black men that are volunteering for those kind of things, you know? Yeah. And like, man, like some of us, and it is scary, you know, because some of us, our plate is so full that like, you know what I mean? But like, dang, like if one of us could just take on one more child to be a part of this village, or just
1 hour a week or something like that, right?
It's just something, you know? But like, it's hard to do, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a part of it too is having the confidence that what you know is worth sharing. A lot of Black men have so much to teach, have so much to give, but they just feel like feed into this whole stereotype that the media perpetuates, that Black men aren't shit. So like, okay, well, I won't talk about my experiences. And you could be holding on to so many gems. So like, especially when you've had a rough childhood, you know how many kids could benefit from your stories, just learning from you. So yeah, I think we, even as women, we need to encourage men to speak, to share your stories, you know, like Troy said, get vulnerable, tell your truth, because even we can learn from you too.
Yeah. And Troy, and to piggyback off of what Tess said with being vulnerable and what you said as well, how do you feel in being vulnerable with other men and other Black men? Do you feel that that's a challenge at this stage in your life? Do you find it challenging to be vulnerable around your brothers, to be, you know, to let them know what you're feeling or what you're experiencing as a father or as a husband or just in life?
One time I did feel that way, but then I started a group called Iron Sharpens Iron, and we actually started off as a men's group for that specific reason, especially for men in the industry. For example, who didn't have time to go to church, whatever, and they just wanted to pour in some other men. So we started that, and then, like, you know, we opened it up the room to women as well. We just started to, like, creating this atmosphere of, like, yo, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay. And even, like, you know, last week I had a conversation with my brothers, and, like, both of us were just crying on the phone. You know what I mean? And, like, it used to be something looked at as weakness, but it's like we have to also cut that toxic trait as well too. Because it is looked at as a weakness. But now I'm going to my other brothers, I'm like, yo, I just want to tell you that I love you, bro. Like,
yes.
And, you know, it's so important. You know,
I love
it's
that.
so important. And you know, I do feel, I'm going back to Mel's thing as well too. Like, I do feel that, like, some men may be afraid to be like, I don't know how to protect Black women. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's okay to be vulnerable with that too. And maybe we need to have those conversations on, okay, this is what we mean by protect, because some of us just feel like, you know, if we're not the manly man who does the construct, who does the construct, you know what I mean? Who does the construction boot and everything there, and, you know, and drink Guinness, like, I'm not a protector in that way. You know what I mean? Like, some guys will look at, like, protector, like, okay, you want a he-man. I'm not a he-man.
Yeah, you're looking at bouncer.
You know what I mean? You're looking at bouncer. Like, no, like, just protect us in certain ways. Like, I just want to know that you have me and I have you. You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just feel like there just needs to be more conversations like this from both sides. And with the men, there needs to be more conversations with us as well too, because, you know what, like, we do need to be more vulnerable with each other, because I really feel that there is strength in that. You know,
and there's learning in it too, right? Like, that is
so much learning.
The moment you're vulnerable with someone, you know, you just open the gates for the communication, you know, and that's the part.
And I noticed the dynamic too sometimes with certain friendships and relationships. When you are vulnerable and that person accepts it, it creates, I don't know what it is. It's like you just end up having that bond. Yes, with that person. And then, you know, at that moment when that person needs encouragement, right? So as a Black man, if I've been vulnerable to another Black man and I said, yo, sometimes, so Troy will know, you know, let me message him and say, yo, are you good?
Right.
Like, you know, that person is always going to be in your mind to make sure they're okay, and just making sure that we can have these kind of conversations. Because I'm masculine, I can say, and I'm not, and you know, and I wasn't a vulnerable person, but I'm noticing with the new friendships that I'm developing with certain people, now that I'm at a vulnerable state and I'm able to be who I am and actually let people know how I'm feeling, I'm noticing these new friends are actually being more receptive to that. So randomly during the week, I'll get a message, love you, hope everything's going okay. You know, I was just thinking about you, like things like that, like little things like that. That as a Black community, we all, even for Black women, sometimes we need to message a man and say, yo,
right?
I'm just checking to see, are you alive? Just making sure. Don't want sex. Just making sure you're good.
Just making sure
you're good. Yes. So So if each of you could give one tip to the Black community, each of you could you give one tip to the Black community that could help us break this chain, what would it be?
We'll start with Troy.
Only one thing. Only one. Okay.
You can pick two. You know, it's really what you feel.
Okay. So I think that we need to find a new way of communicating with each other and building new community. Like, I would just say that's important to me, because just like we were just talking just now, having a vulnerable conversation with my brother, it allowed me to also find things about myself. And I think like we have so much unlocking to do with each other, you know? So that's one thing I would say. And of course I would like to say that men and women, like we can all agree that like we can all be better parents in general. You know, this black man father thing, this black woman thing, like there should just be no thing. Like we could just we can there's enough room for all of us to just exist and be amazing to each other, you know? So, I just can't wait to that day. So yeah, I'll stop there.
So well, I would say my thing. Oh, sorry.
No, go Tash. I was just saying, Tess.
The thing that I would say that we should do, I would say, is get involved. I think that if everyone in our community was to be a little bit more active, and it doesn't necessarily only, I don't only strangers. I mean, even the people in your family and your immediate, circle. If you know of your friends' kids, or somebody else that you can reach out to, that you can mentor, that you can share information with, somebody that you could, like, you, a lot of times we don't get involved in people's business because we're like, that's how we're taught, right? Mind your business.
Mind your business.
So, right. So a lot of times we don't say things that we probably should say, or we don't identify problems. We know of people who are in bad situations or whatever. We don't say anything. And I think that's what we need to do. We need to start living more communally and getting involved and saying something, and not being, so concerned with minding people's business. But like, if it's coming from a good place, then, get involved, help, because that's how our community will build and get stronger.
Right. Tess?
I would say have more compassion and understanding for each other. A lot of us, everybody learns differently. Everybody experiences the world in a different way. And your way isn't the right way, and my way isn't the right way. We all have something to give. We all have something to share, and we all can learn from each other. So, like Tasha said, get involved, but also have more compassion and understanding for each other.
Yeah,
those were some good tips.
Yeah. What's your tip?
Yeah, Mel, what's your tip?
You know what? I think with me, I think it's more about just showing love. That's it. Like we don't show each other love, period. Like I'm coming from a group of friends who don't show love. Like they won't tell me, yo, bitch, you look fucking good. You understand? Like I'm just learning to show love to everybody else, because I never came from that. And I noticed when you start showing love, that love will always come back to you. Whether it's that person that you're showing the love to, it could be just someone random, like someone on the street. I think if we encourage that and just have more pride in who we are as Black people, I think sometimes we forget, like, we're great. Black men are great. Black women are great. And we just need to start just showing that. That's just my kind of tip, period.
Yeah. Keep showing that.
I have lots of work. I personally have lots of work to do. I ain't going to come on here saying, I've got so much work to do, but at least I'm willing to acknowledge that and try to make changes. So
yeah,
I got work to do as well too. I can appreciate that. So
yeah, and you guys should go to Iron Sharpens Iron, because I actually had a day off for my part-time. I'm gonna go to the Iron Sharpens Iron, and I can tell you, after I left Iron Sharpens Iron, I told my brother we have to go again, because it was like
enlightening.
When I was there, it was, as soon as I left, it was like there was this weight that was lifted off my shoulders that I didn't feel at that time, because you don't really, like, sometimes you don't want to call people to complain about how you feel, because they'll ask you how your month is going. And then you just have to break it down, and then everybody will kind of have their input. And then you had Ruth, who was speaking, and then she is, I guess she's a pastor, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
and so it's a mixture. It's like you get a bit of both. Like you get the real, and then you get the spiritual side of it, and then you're able to go back home and think about some of the things that everybody has said. And it was actually, I didn't tell you that, Troy.
Oh my
the weight
God.
was lifted, man. That weight, because I was going through some hard times, and I went to that session. I'm telling you.
Oh my gosh.
But yes.
Well, Troy, thank you so much for joining us. This was a very enlightening conversation.
It was.
Thank you for being so transparent with us and sharing some really personal moments in your life. We thank you for being a fantastic father, and so we celebrate you today, and all the fathers out there, we celebrate you. Happy Father's Day. There he is. Hi. He made a cameo finally.
Yes. It'll be dope to have you come back. And I know you have dope male. I know you have dope male friends too, so we need to spice it up a little bit, you know?
Man, I got some wonderful brothers. And before I go, if you don't mind me giving a shout out to my team, Crossfield Productions. Shout out my co-CEOs, Shona Osborne, Tasia Harris, Tisha Reed, and Adila Carter. And of course, I want to shout out my family. You know, my daughter, my little man Elijah, and the wife Quinn.
Beautiful Quinn. Yes, you guys are a beautiful family. I swear.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys for having me. And please erase that comment. Actually, and this time I'm not even gonna go back there. I'm not even gonna go back there. We're not going back there. We're not going back there. I love you guys so much.
Thank you.
And thank you for being a part of my village. And my children are your children, and I hope vice versa. So let's just get into that mentality where we can just be there for each other like that.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you guys.
All right,
so
guys.
Next week.
Bye.
Bye.